Hello everybody and welcome back to a Royal Reader. My name is Cici and today I'm going to be doing the mid-year freakout book tag. So this is a tag that everybody does right around July or June when it becomes the mid-year, obviously. And we talk about the books that we enjoyed the most, best sequels and things like that. I don't believe I did one of these last year because last year was hectic, just the same as this year is also hectic. But I am managing to find some time to obviously sit down and have a good time. And I am going to try my hardest not to do duplicates, but there may be a couple where I have no choice. Let's just get into it anyway. So first question, best book I've read this year. I'm going to have to say it is Children of Fallen Gods by Carissa Broadbent. This is the second book in the War of Lost Hearts series. I've never read a book where I've had such a visceral reaction to the content inside of it like I did with this book. I've also never read a book where an author has done what Carissa Broadbent did in this book as well in the entire time. But so in this book we follow our main character Tisana, and she is a slave. At the beginning of the novel she chooses that she's no longer going to be a slave and kind of does something a little bad and flee, and she goes to seek help from the wizards, magic wielders of this land, because they have this big army that she wants to try and use, because Tisana has her own magic, she just doesn't know how to use it that well. So she's like, you know, if you teach me and I, you know, give my services to you, you help me in return so I can go and free all of my friends and family. That's a very basic summary of it. Obviously we have our love interest Maxentarius Fairloin. He is a very reluctant teacher for Tisana, and I just love their relationship so freaking much. Their relationship was one of the best descriptions or best portrayals of friends to lovers, and I just loved it so freaking much, and the ending of this book just had me shook. So yes. Next one is going to be the best sequel you've read this year. I would say it's probably Children of Fallen Gods again, but just so I can give it a little bit of a mix up, I'm actually going to go with Magic and Misdemeanors by oh shoot, what's his name? He wrote the Fairy Tale Detectives series. It is a middle grade series that sort of starts to lean into YA a little bit as the characters grow up. This book, I think it's the 5th or the 6th book in the series. Michael Buckley, that's who it is. So Magic and Other Misdemeanors by Michael Buckley. That is the 5th book in the Sisters Grimm Fairy Tale Detectives series. I can't go into too much detail to what this is, but I was thoroughly shook the entire time I was reading it. This is a middle grade, like I said, that I was reading back when I was like 13, and I was thoroughly enjoying everything. And as I was growing up, I didn't get to finish the series because obviously it hadn't finished, you know, being written. So I found out that my library had all the copies, so I've just been reading them every so often. I binged like a whole bunch of them, I think back in either February or March. And basically we have our two main characters, Sabrina and Daphne. They have been orphans since their parents just suddenly disappeared in the middle of the night with nothing but a red bloody handprint left on their car. There is no information about like how or why or where. The girls have been put into an orphanage system, and every person that they have, a foster parent that they have, is absolutely horrible, and the person that's like in charge of their case is absolutely horrible as well, until one day a lady comes forward and is like, hey, I'm their grandmother, I will be happy to take them. Sabrina and Daphne are like, it's been like almost a year since our parents have disappeared and now you're just getting in contact with us? Okay. Anyway, they go with their grandmother to this town, and then they discover that the patrons of the town are actually fairy tale creatures and characters. Absolutely hilarious. I loved it so much, and I still haven't finished the series yet. I think I have like 3 books left to finish the series, and things are starting to get juicy. I don't know why I stopped. But yes, I'd have to say that one. Favorite reread is the second question. Now, I don't know if I've actually done a reread yet. Looks like I haven't really done a reread yet, but I will say that I did reread the 6th no, not the Six of Crows, the Shadow and Bone series by Lee Bardugo, because my friend told me that I would probably be spoiled for stuff that happens in Crooked Kingdom in season 2 of Shadow and Bone. So I was like, okay, I probably should, you know, finish off the series and wrap it up. So I did pick up the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I didn't enjoy it more this time round. I had a fun time doing it anyway because I was annotating the books with like every single thought that I ever had possible, so that I can gift it to my friend Charlie. And that was a fun time. So the experience I had while reading was fun. The book itself, I was never really a big fan of the Shadow and Bone series. I hated Mal. I still hate Mal. He has no redeeming quality whatsoever. But yeah, so I'd probably say that one. Genre I've been reading the most. I think it is obvious to say that I have been reading fantasy. Although I will say I have picked up a few more like paranormal books, but obviously the main genre that I do read is fantasy. New release that you haven't read yet but want to. I want to read The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshani Chokshi. I have not read it yet, and I haven't bought the book yet, and it bugs me because I look for it every time I go into Kmart or Big W, and it's just not there, and it's driving me up the wall. I really want to read it because I really love Roshani Chokski's writing, and the fact that this is like her like debut adult novel, I'm just like, I need to get my hands on it, and it just sounds absolutely incredible, and it bugs me that I haven't read it yet. Another one that I also haven't read yet is Carissa Broadbent's Slaying the Vampire Conqueror, something along those lines. It is part of a sort of series of I think 6 or 5 books that different authors have written that's like monster romance-esque, and I think this book may be set in her vampire world within the series of the Crowns of Nyaxia series. So I really want to read that one as well. I just haven't picked it up yet, which is stupid, but yeah. So probably those two. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I'm probably going to be like one of the like 100th person to say this, but obviously Iron Flame by, no, not Iron Flame, Iron Flame? Yes, Iron Flame, which is the second book to Fourth Wing. It is in the series name, which I cannot remember what it's called. It's some weird, wonderful name, but this, I am super hyped for this book. Biggest disappointment. I've DNF'd a few books already this year. I wouldn't say that they are hard DNFs, but one of them I think I am leaning more towards it being a bit of a hard DNF is Duel with the Vampire Lord by Elise Cover. This is a part of her Married to Magic series where we had Deal with the Elf King and Dance with the Fae Prince, I think is the other 2 books. This one, there is something about it that just is rubbing me the wrong way and I'm not enjoying it. I don't really like the characters. The world is really, really confusing, which shouldn't be the case considering as the other 2 books were set in the same world and everything. And there's just something with the writing that it just seems really cheesy and cringy, and I'm just not enjoying it whatsoever. It took me over 3 days to get to like 70 pages in. I'm going to have to give this one a DNF. Just something about it that just is not doing it for me, which is really upsetting because I really enjoyed Deal with the Elf King. It was like one of my favorite books of the year whenever I read it, and it was like one of the only 5-star books that I had for that year as well. So the fact that this book is just not doing it is really upsetting. My biggest surprise. So I read King of Battle and Blood by Scarlett St. Clair earlier this year, and I've read A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair, and I've started to read A Touch of Ruin. Knew that I liked her writing, and there was just something about this book that I just wasn't sure if I was going to enjoy it or not, especially with like how it begins. It's quite smutty, which I wasn't expecting either, considering as like the Touch of Darkness book, it sort of takes a little bit to get towards the smut, and this one was just kind of like full force. She is all ready to like pull down her panties the moment she lays her eyes on him. That being said, I still really enjoyed this book, and I do need to pick up Queen of, I think it's Myths and Monsters, because the ending had me shook. And I really enjoyed the main character Isadola. She was absolutely incredible, and if you want like a badass bitch who was like gonna take no shit from no one, doesn't matter who you are, pick this book up, because I she did some things that I was shook. So I probably have to say this one. Fave author, new or debut. So once again, I'm probably going to be a part of the million people that are going to say this, but Carissa Broadbent. I started reading her books because of Rachel from Ravenhead Reader. She was the one who I first saw mention Carissa Broadbent, and I picked up on a whim because her books are available on Kindle Unlimited. Everyone was saying that it was like Sarah J Maas writing, and I was like, okay, I'm in for it, and I have not looked back. I have read every single book, apart from the one, that Carissa has put out, and I have been obsessed with all of them. I have not given any of those books lower than a 4-star rating. I love her books so much. Honestly, her plots are stuff that I have not read for a while. I love it. I love it. I love it. Newest fave character. So I'm going to go with Terran, I think is his name, from Fourth Wing. It is one of the dragons. In this book, the dragons are their own characters. They can speak. They have their own personalities. And Terran is like this sassy, grumpy old man who just like doesn't give a fuck about anything. But I really, really enjoyed reading like his interactions with everyone, not just the main character and stuff. So I'd probably have to say him. And obviously Adara as well. Book that made you cry. I don't think I've read a book that's made me cry yet. There's books that have had sad moments, but I don't think I've read a book that's made me cry just yet. Actually, no, I lie. It wasn't a sad moment, but it was more of like a I feel seen type of way. And that's going to be Blessed by the Maiden by Demi Clarissa. This is a debut book. It came out this year. She is an Australian author, indie published. I got an art copy of this, and in this, the main character is plus sized, and she talks about her stretch marks and her body in such a like beautiful way that it just, I'm like getting emotional thinking about it now. You don't see a lot of plus size characters in a fantasy that are the main characters. If there are plus size main characters, they're usually like a whore or something like that, and they are sexualized for their body. And the fact that this wasn't like that, and it was, I loved how the bodies were represented in this book. Yeah. Next up, we have book that made you happy. I read a lot of fantasy books, and a lot of the time everybody's going to war and people are dying, so there's not much happiness happening. Honestly, rereading the Fairy Tale Detectives by Michael Buckley, I had an incredible time with those books, and it just brought me back to my childhood, and I had a great time reading them, so I'm gonna say those ones. Most beautiful book I've bought this year. I haven't really been buying books simply because I cannot afford it. I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see this because it is a really shiny cover, but I'm going to go The King's Game by Nicole Sanchez. This is like a Hades and Persephone retelling inspired book, but I really like this cover. There's just something about it. I love the pink. The hot pink, which you don't see a lot of in the fantasy books, apart from a random redesign of a cover, Miss Sarah Janet. But anyway, I'm going to say this one. So, next question, what book do you need to read by the end of the year? A lot. So one of my goals for this year was to read at least 20 books from my bookshelf. So I had a goal to read 40 books this year, and I wanted to read 20 of them from my physical TBR because it is an insane amount of books that I have not read. I have a lot that I need to read, which is unfortunate, but there's just too many things happening all at once, and too many books are coming out, and I have no time. Honestly, I really need to do my reread of Akasaf, but I really need to do my reread of The Court of Silver Flames. I've been meaning to reread this for like the past 2 years, and I still have not done it yet. Why is my lighting like darkening? So I'm probably gonna say that one as like a specific book that I need to read. Everything else, everything else is fair game as well. And now we have come to the last question of this tag, which is fave book content creator or community member. I have found a lot of like comfort creators for me this year. Specifically because this year and last year itself have been some really hard years on my mental health, and just life in general has been hard. So I have a couple of ones that I like go to just feel good and to like escape. So I have Olivia Reads a Latte. Her vlogs are incredible and immaculate, and I love her so much. Next is Throne of Pages. Her editing style is what I aspire to be like. Also, she's hilarious and funny, and I love how much she like freaks out about books. Next is Ravenhead Reader. She reads fantasy romance. I get all of my recommendations from her. And next we have Katie is Reading. She's another one who reads a lot of fantasy romance, and I love her vlog style as well. Alrighty, so that is it for this video. Let me know if you guys have enjoyed it, and let me know what some of your answers are to the questions down below. If you'd like to see more of me, then do be sure to check out my Instagram and TikTok. Links are always down in the description box as well. Have a look over on there. I am trying to be more active on there, so do be sure to check those out. If you have any video ideas that you would like me to do, then please be sure to let me know down below in the comments. I hope you are having a wonderful day, and I will see you soon in another video.